Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's so good to have you here. It's a very special evening for us because we do have this wonderful guest speaker, Pat Jennings, with us coming all the way from St. Petersburg. A 2-hour trip became 3 due to traffic, and we are very, very honored and especially happy to have him here with us. Patrick was the founder of the St. Petersburg Spiritist Society, and nowadays he works at the Andrew Luiz Society of Tampa with dear friends of ours for a long, long time. He has been speaking throughout the States through, I would say, pretty much all over for quite a while, right? In symposia, conferences, seminars, and he's a seasoned speaker, and you see that. Today he is bringing to us a major study he did on this book from Andrew Luiz, from the spiritual series of Andrew Luiz. It relates to, I'm not going to say what the book relates to because what's the point, right? We have a speaker to talk to you about that, but it's a dramatic story and beautiful story of love and survival and rescue. And as we do every single week, we like to start with the book Happy Life. Going on, we have... Okay. Even though people appear to be bad or selfish, or because they afflict or mistreat you, do not plan revenge. Wow. On my gospel at home last night, I had a reading, a message on revenge. There are those who enjoy doing evil, who upset others and take pleasure in it. These are beings at a primary level who are still acquiring the light of reason and emotional sensitivity. This is amazing. It has everything to do with what we're going to see today. It's unfair for you to lower yourself to their level and, worse, suffer more. When you can help raise them and yourself, and change the world's moral landscape for the better. May your magnanimous actions show an understanding of the failings and limits of your neighbor. You will never be sorry if you act in that way. What a message. My goodness. All right, I invite you all now to connect with our spirit mentors. And I ask our friends to put a beautiful background music. So let's lift our hearts, our thoughts, and let's connect with each other. And we do that, transmitting love, fraternity, peace to all those around us in this material world and this spiritual realm. Let's raise the vibration of our room even further. Our spirit mentors and benefactors have been prepared this room especially to have us over tonight so we can receive the inspiration, the strengthening of our souls and minds, our emotions, and leave here better than we came in. Now, let's lift our hearts to the Creator. And as Jesus taught us, let's say in spirit, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. And it's in name of God, Christ, and our spirit mentors that we open our meeting. Very good. It's my pleasure to introduce you, Pat Jennings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really a great joy to be here tonight with you. No, you can turn them off. You can turn, if you want to turn them down, that's fine, so everybody can see the screen better. That's fine for me.
We're going to turn everything down.
Okay,
Just turn when you start
That's fine.
speaking.
I tend to walk around a lot, so. This project came about as a result of an effort that we're doing at the Tampa Bay Spiritist Society, Andre Luiz, in an effort to continue the education of our members as well as to engage our members. We decided to do a book report project on Life in the Spirit World series. There are 13 books in the series, beginning with No Solar and ending with La Vida Continua, Life Goes On.
13 times to come to Orlando?
I can. 11 of those books are in English. 2 obviously have not yet been translated. They're working on them a little bit, but they're not a great priority at the moment. So at the center then, what we did was we asked for volunteers, as all Spiritist centers do. And fortunately, we got a lot of volunteers. And so I think we've had 8 presentations so far, and so we have 3 left to go. And it's really been a wonderful experience. And I can certainly share with you that while everyone in the audience certainly learns and gains from the information, the presenters are the ones who gain the most because they do the homework, they do the reading, they do the studying, they do the preparation. And so it's had a tremendous impact and effect on all of the presenters on each of the various books. So having said that, that's the background on how this came about. So it's a book report, if you will. It's meant to be a synopsis of what the book is about. How many people have read Liberation? Is that 1.5 or is that 2? Or, all right, 2. Okay. All right, so 2 of you. Great. So you can keep me honest. All right, so is this the clicker?
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I should get the clickers.
Okay. Just forward.
This one, yeah.
This one?
No, right here.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right. So here's the book, Liberation. I'm sure you have it in your library outside, in English and in Portuguese, right?
Right, yes.
Ok. Eu não falo português, desculpa. Okay, so we begin with the story, and so we'll just do a little summary. So, in this compelling narrative, Andre Luiz emphasizes the work of high-order spirits in the effort to convert the spirit Gregorio to the good, an effort that culminates with the unforgettable encounter with his mother, herself a highly evolved spirit, wherein he surrenders to the irresistible call of love. The book also contains information on how unhappy spirits act as they try to involve incarnates in their activities. The spirit author tells of the intercession of high-order spirits on behalf of incarnates, demonstrating the divine compassion that grants to all the blessed opportunity to free themselves by means of study, labor, and persevering service in the practice of the good. This is meant to be interactive, so if anybody has a question or a comment, please, shoot your hand up and we'll stop and we'll deal with it. Happy to answer questions. And it's meant to really be a discussion. So, the cast of characters. This book, it's a little bit like a Russian novel. There's just a lot of characters in this book. So it's a little hard to keep track of, but we'll do our best. So clearly, one of the characters is Andre Luiz, his sidekick Elio, his mentor in this book and in this project is Gubbio. And if I murder these Portuguese names, please help me. And then Matilda is one of the central characters in the story, and she is a highly evolved spirit. And then there is Gregorio, who is the polar opposite of his mother, as we will see. And then sort of the central character in the whole story is Margarita. The book begins with a lecture in the spirit world that Andre Luiz is attending with his mentor, Gubbio, and the lecture is being given by Minister Flaccus. And as you know, in the spirit world, when someone has the title of minister, they are a really high order spirit. And I could spend the entire evening just going over the 10 pages of his presentation. It is so filled with information, and it's just a wonderful prelude to the whole story. The essence of the story, of his presentation, are the laws of attraction, and which clearly govern the universe. And he's particularly emphasizing the vibration, the laws of attraction as it relates to the lower zones. And we'll see how this unfolds. So here he is in the hall, in the big lecture hall, in a place similar to Nosolar. So now, after the lecture is over, Gubbio and some others have repaired to another place, and they're informed of what their next task is going to be. And it has to do with an obsession. And then they're also informed how this will be, particularly for Andre Luiz. He's not used to this kind of work. He's not used to these kinds of situations. So they explain to him that it's the importance of this work of fraternal assistance. Then they head over to this place called the Temple for the preparations and for their mission. And then they talk about, there's Andre Luiz, Gubbio, and Elio. And as they're gathered here, an extraordinary event happens. And there's a high order spirit who materializes in their presence. And the description of it is fascinating and breathtaking. And this is the high order spirit, Matilda. And she begins to then describe to them a request that she has. And the request has to do with the key characters, with her daughter and with her son. So they talk about now how they're getting ready to undertake this mission. Gregorio is her son, and he is one of the arch bad guys. And so what they have to do is they now, Elio, Gubbio, and Andre Luiz, they have to descend into the lower zones to begin this process. So they describe crossing the vibrational borders, and then how they have to deal with the density of the environment and how difficult it is for them to get around and how difficult it is even to breathe for them. Then they finally get to this really wicked place, and they look around and they see all of these really deformed, deranged spirits. And the environment is really dark and gray and brown and just depressing. And this is the enclave, this is the city in the lower zones where Gregorio is holding court. So then they go to meet Gregorio. So here, it's kind of a wonderful depiction of their first encounters with this place. And as you can see, it's not really a pretty place. And the characters, because they are in this lower zone, they've taken on all sorts of deformities. And we'll see that brought out later. So now that they've gotten here, they need to get an audience with Gregorio, who's a big high mucky muck, and he just won't talk to anybody. So they hatch a plan about how they're going to get to an audience with Gregorio. And Gubbio, being a really high order spirit and highly evolved, he's sort of one step ahead. So again, they'll continue to refer to the forces of attraction, the laws of vibration, the universal laws, God's laws, and all of the consequences that has in these lower zones, and how many times it actually traps spirits there. So one of the things that they see as they're in this court setting, and it's kind of amusing the way it's all set up and all of the fanfare and the pomp and circumstance surrounding Gregorio and all of his lieutenants and minions. And one of the things that they noticed was that these judges in this tribunal, that through magnetic passes, through magnetic healing, because even low-order spirits have the capacity to do similar things to what high-order spirits do, except they don't use them for good. So one of the things that they do, and one of the scenes that they describe, and we included it here because it's so powerful, is there's a woman, a female, in the audience, and they are berating her for some behavior, and they are so, their will, their intention is so powerful, and they belittle her so far, and she internalizes it so greatly, and they call her names and they call her all kinds of things, that what the transformation that occurs is what's referred to as lycanthropy. And what that is when very, very low order spirits internalize their failures, their bad behavior. Their perispirit changes and it becomes deformed. And because they are so driven by their animal instincts, that some of them actually take on the physical presence of animals. And in this case, they describe a scenario where the woman turns into a wolf. And it's fascinating. And so here it is. So here's where I said the pomp and circumstance. These guys are really quite full of themselves. And so here she is down here in the corner after they've got finished berating her. And it's just a really interesting bit of information if you've never read about it. So now, because they're newcomers here, and you're either a bad guy who's a good guy for them, or you're not. And those who are not are basically jailed in this city. So they got themselves thrown in jail so that they ultimately get an audience with the big High Gunzamaka, Gregorio. Has anybody ever seen this word or this term, ovoids? It describes, and we'll see it in a moment, it describes a situation where the perispirit degenerates so far that it loses all of its characteristics, and the spirit actually is encased in an egg-shaped shell. That, boys and girls, is as low as you can go. And it's tragic. And here we have some examples of them. So these spheres are ovoids. So that in principle might be Andre Luiz and Elio and Gubbio up in the jail cell looking out on these horrific scenes. So what they call this region is the abyss. And it's just filled with suffering souls. And then they come upon a situation where there are 3 of these ovoids who are connected to a suffering woman. There she is, believe it or not. And what they are is, the woman is suffering. She was a slave owner. She's connected to former slaves who died. She tormented them till they died. And it's this shared hatred. She hated them, they hated her. And over centuries, it became so powerful that they've degenerated to this condition. The beautiful thing is that when they get around to reincarnating, she will be their mother. And all 3 of them, she will be charged with caring for them. So it's wonderful. So here, the 3 of them, again, Elio, Gubbio, and Andre Luiz, are trying to offer some assistance here. So now, the big day. They get to meet Gregorio. And in order to sway him, Matilda has given them a sort of secret password that would let him know that it was from his mother. It's very clever. And then they talk about creditors and debtors, then it comes out who the central character, who is Margarita. And she is obsessed, and she's really out there. And she is near death through this obsession. And then we learn, guess who is the obsessor? Gregorio. So they grant him, they're granted permission to begin their project here. And again, I don't want to get into too much details here, otherwise we'd be here for hours. But there he is in all of his splendor, Gregorio. He thinks a lot of himself. So they get the opportunity now to go and visit Margarita, who is incarnate. And what they witness, Andre Luiz and his team, what they witness is a whole crew of less evolved spirits who are surrounding this poor incarnate, Margarita. And through magnetic passes, they continue to sap her of her strength and of her vitality. And she too, at this moment, is surrounded by dozens of ovoids. And what they're doing is they're just sucking the energy out of her. They're just sucking the life out of her. And what, again, is brought to mind here is that this is a technically highly organized attack by these less evolved spirits. These things are not random. So here she is, and you can see these guys aren't too pleasant looking, and so neither are the ones in the background. And so these are the spirits that are surrounding this suffering incarnate. So she has a husband, and they've tried all manner of medicine and holistic healing, and you know, they're desperate. So now they decide that the only way that Margarita is going to get better is if they take her to church. Okay. And as we all know, there are lots of companions with each and every incarnate. So there are always several friends that travel with each and every one of us. Some are more evolved and some are less evolved. And what they view, Andre Luiz, because they're following her husband and Matilda to see what's going on and what's happening. And what they witness in this church is absolute pandemonium from a spiritual standpoint. Everything looks wonderful from an incarnate, from a material standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint is pandemonium in this place. And it talks about the aura of the population, and again, we go back to the laws of attraction, the laws of cause and effect. The vibration, the ambient is populated with pandemonium. So what appears to be a somber, noble service and situation, in reality, from a spiritual standpoint, from a vibrational standpoint, it's quite dysfunctional. And now we meet Saldana. And he is Gregorio's lieutenant. He is the chief tormentor when it comes to Matilda. And we learn that the reason that he's doing it is to seek revenge. Most obsessions, as we know, the basis for them are revenge. And it's revenge for the suffering of his family when he was incarnate. And we'll learn why. So now, that doesn't work. Clearly, going to church didn't help. So now the family decides that they're going to seek mediumship intervention. But it's a secular mediumship intervention. So they go to someone who's got credentials, he's a university professor, but what they don't understand is he too is under the influence of less evolved spirits, so this whole thing is bound to fail. So the man, in principle, is not a bad guy, but Saldana, because he's such a powerful spirit, he comes in and he hijacks the entire process, whispering in the poor professor's ears, influencing him, and it's a complete debacle. So who steps in and offers some help? Mentor Gubbio. And what they learn is that Saldana has a deranged son who's in a mental institution, incarnate. And now Gubbio, again being one step ahead, he befriends Saldana and he offers to go with him to visit his son in the hospital. That's the seance, and this is the professor. Nothing good going on there. So the son, Saldana's son, is Jorge, and his mother and his wife, discarnate, are connected to him, and they can see that. And that's part of his obsession, the son. Lots of obsessions going on here. I told you it was complicated. So Gubbio offers, as only a truly high-order spirit can do, he offers a remarkable prayer for Jorge in the presence of Saldana. And it's so moving and it's so powerful that it touches Saldana, who's a really hardened spirit, but it touches him. And so they eventually work on breaking the ties between the mother and the sister and freeing the son, and Saldana is now indebted to Gubbio. And so very slyly, now he's recruited for the good. So there's lots of spiritual lessons and instructions to learn. That's the whole scene. That's the situation of the son, the mother, the daughter. And so they're rehabilitating Saldana through the intervention on behalf of the son. And now they meet a judge who is Margarita's father. And what we learn is her father, the judge, sentenced Saldana when he was incarnate for some crime. And it ruined Saldana's family. And so that's the basis of the hate and the revenge between Saldana and Matilda, because Matilda is the judge's daughter. So that's the way he sought revenge, because he couldn't find the judge. So they describe a scene where the judge they encounter him now because he's discarnate, and how he is repentant, and Saldana rejoices. He's really coming over to the A team. You can see the chords here. Some of them are still very, very much connected. So now they're plotting here. And, sorry. They finally come to the spiritist intervention at last for Margarita. The cavalry has arrived. And in this discussion, Saldana speaks with Andre Luiz and enlightens him about all of the situations that have gone on, about how they affect their magnetic healing, or in their case, their magnetic trances. And then they attend a mediumship meeting at a spiritist center, and it's really quite an illuminating description for all of those of you who are involved in mediumship or are studying mediumship. It's a fascinating description. And then they go about beginning to detach the ovoids from Matilda.
From Margarita.
I'm sorry, from Margarita. And then they see there's a medium there who is displaying some qualities that are, not the greatest qualities, and they describe how jealousy and anger are two of the biggest gateways for allowing easy access for obsessions for mediums. So you can see here in the meeting. So they're trying to detach the ovoids from her. And then they talk about the lessons to be learned and the whole notion of fraternal assistance and all of the defensive measures that are put into place. And now what they've done is they've left the meeting and they've gone back to her house and with her husband, and the good spirits have set up defenses around the perimeter of the house because they know the bad guys are coming. And so what they've done is set up these magnetic defenses to repel the low-order spirits, but in doing so, through the good work, through the illumination of the good spirits, they begin to attract an endless stream of suffering spirits to this house. And they're actually quite overwhelmed with what to do with all of these suffering spirits. But because it's a first aid place and because of the way they've set it up, they start dealing with everybody and trying to help as many as they can. And then the house is completely transformed, and it went from this dark, gray, brown, ugly place to being so highly illuminated. And then we hear some words from the benefactor, and then Matilda materializes again. And at this point, Gubbio offers a really meaningful and really touching prayer as she's materializing. One side comment, we all know about fluids and the need for fluids so that more evolved spirits can affect matter. And I thought what was so fascinating about this scene is because she is so highly evolved, she needs to take fluids from Gubbio so that she can materialize. It's an amazing description. You would think that spirits at this level, they can pretty much do what they need to do or what they want to do. And it really shows us how God's laws, these universal laws, just govern everything. The laws of attraction, how they govern everything in the universe. And so now they are all surrounded by her light. And the mother and daughter are reunited. And it is, again, their descriptions of it are just so powerful. And Matilda describes here how she is going to, even though she's such a high order spirit, she is going to reincarnate to continue the work of redemption. But it's not over. So there's going to be a final battle because the bad guys are not given up that easily. So the final battle is Gregorio and Gubbio? Yes? No? Maybe? Gregorio versus... Good versus evil. So there they are, the bad guys. Gregorio and Matilda. Mother and son. Now, clearly, Gubbio and Andre Luiz and Elio and all of the others are vibrating highly elevated thoughts for what's going on. She is so highly evolved. And when he sees her, she speaks to him, and her words are so powerful that he collapses. He's so touched by her presence and by her love for him. And through this reconciliation now that happens, I especially love his fingernails. And there she goes with her son in her arms. And that's the final scene in the story. So love conquers all. For me, one of the more interesting things about the story, along with all of the other stories in the Andre Luiz series, is I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I read all 11 books in English, and only after I finished them did I hear someone in a lecture explain that the books, the underlying theme of all of the books is the laws of cause and effect. Hello? Yes, it is. So here we see the laws of cause and effect. You're really brought to bear in so many dramatic fashions, the consequences of our actions, and then the consequences of humility and love and charity, and the profound effects that can have. So it is a wonderful, wonderful story, and I would urge every one of you to try and read it if you can. Are there any questions? Anybody have anything that they would like me to try and expand upon? Any questions at all? I didn't do that good a job.
So involved with story, no?
It is a complicated story. It's a lot to just cram into 45, 50 minutes.
Beautiful story.
It
You
is.
love it, and
It is. It's, yeah.
Forgiveness.
It is. And for me, at the end of the story, what struck me the most was the extraordinary lengths to which Matilda went to redeem her son. Think about all of those steps that had to happen. You know, all of those, it's like playing 3D chess, you know, there's like stuff going on everywhere.
And she was waiting for centuries, right?
She was
this
waiting for
moment.
centuries, yeah, centuries for that to happen.
Until he was able to,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that she's gonna reincarnate after all of that.
the book says
Yeah.
more, we don't want to
Yeah,
tell.
the book says more.
I wanna know.
There's much more, we don't want to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
So now what
And-
happens to Gregorio? I mean,
He went away with the mother took him.
so he's gonna reincarnate.
Right. And she's gonna be his mother again.
Try again.
But we're not gonna tell them, right? What is the plan for his reincarnation? Because there's a huge plan.
There is.
So Andrea Luiz in his book, he was just, as all the other books, observing and learning.
Precisely.
Okay.
Exactly. So what he was learning was, again, the laws of cause and effect about what happens when you're incarnate and how the problems don't end
Right.
when you discarnate, how, in fact, they become exacerbated, they become worse over centuries, and how that vengeance and how that hatred, how it builds, and how the spirits, the low-order spirits, become so single-minded and so focused, they can't think about anything else, and they won't think about anything else, because they are obsessed with the notion of the vengeance or the retaliation or whatever it is that happened. And it's so powerful. And that's why they're so difficult to break. They're so difficult to break.
Love breaks, right? That's
Love is the only thing that will break
the only thing.
it. Humility.
In any of the Andrew Lewis books, have you seen a father going back to rescue his son or something? Or is it just the thing for the mothers to do?
No.
No.
Yeah, we have seen, yes. Yeah,
No,
some of the
it's-
yeah.
It's not relegated to maternal figures only.
Yeah, Gubbio, for example,
Yeah.
is involved with Margarita, who was the previous, was his daughter. There's a whole intricate of story.
Yeah. She can't reincarnate. She's got some other important things that she's got to do. So I think it says that she can't reincarnate for the father. It's like 700 years that he can't, one of the participants can't participate for 700 years. And that's, I think, where Gubbio steps up and says, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he agrees to be incarnated again and step in and so that the process can continue, the redemptive work.
The book's tremendous. I hope it gives them the willingness to read.
Yeah, it's fabulous. So, Jusada Korngold was talking about putting this up on the United States Spiritist Council website. I don't know if she's done that yet. You have a copy of it. You're welcome to use it here.
The image project asked us not to further the images, so we respect that, of course.
Yeah. Beata gave me I think Beata sent me the images. I don't know where they came from. They're from a Brazilian website that has all those
Yeah,
wonderful
Right.
images that have been
We
done.
have lots, many of them.
Yeah, we do as well. And many of the lectures that have been given have incorporated those images, and they help a lot. They're so illuminating, you know. It's pretty interesting. So, Are there any other questions? Anything else anybody would like to discuss? I know it's really complicated, but anyway, thanks for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a privilege to be here, and I'm grateful.
Thank you so much. We hope that he's an athlete. He's a cyclist, by the way, and he competes. So I hope you have been to Orlando like 10 times in the cycling competitions. That's what it is. So hopefully next is very soon, and you will have the grace and the immense pleasure to have you with us again. Thank you so much for coming. It's quite a trip with all the traffic involved, and a little bit under a 2-hour trip became a 3 with the traffic. Thank you so very much for being here. And when Pat talked to me about this topic, I have to say that I was a little worried, because our English program on Thursdays, the public meetings are in a general level, and this kind of study in terms of the seriousness and the gravity of these obsession cases are truly studied in our study groups. But our public here has turned a bit, and we end up having people who are actually attending the courses here at the center and the study groups. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite you, because we do have a new program that is called the Book Reading Group. And that's exactly what we are doing now. On Tuesdays at 6:30, Daisy participates in it. And we get a book, start reading together, and start studying together. It's a phenomenal interchange and an opportunity for us to deepen our understanding of Spiritism. There is no medicine in this world who will be able to treat the illnesses of the soul as the Spiritism does. And he's so well portrayed that the fact that you're going to a church, or even if you're going to a medium, and if this medium is not evolved in terms of moral character with the goal of helping others, he will not be surrounded by good spirits. So I think we had an idea today what is this phenomenal world of the Spiritist literature can give to us. And hopefully that will give you the interest, will interest you to acquire these books and listen to audiobooks, if you will. And this lecture is going to be available for you in DVDs if you want to order them. And we are working our YouTube channel. Eventually, it will be there too. Share with your friends. For those who do not understand why they are sick and there is nothing medicine can do in order to help them. My mother suffered from this level of obsession that Margarita had. She was sent home, and the doctor said there is nothing else we can do. And some mediums were finally, my father was very Catholic, did not accept this kind of spiritual interference, but when he was seeing her dying, he finally accepted some mediums to come to the house, and that was the first step for her to start to recover. What was amazing, she was just taken, just go die at home. She was under hospice care already. And it was truly just obsession. So if people do not accept the idea that an obsession can take you to death, you had a phenomenal opportunity to understand how this passion meeting those are the opportunities that we have to talk to these spirits who go after incarnate people who do not have, who has not forgiven them. This is our effort to help us as being under process of obsession and help them to disengage from this hatred. And us workers have the opportunity to do good. So we have several spiritist workers here in the obsession that are part of the obsession meetings here at the center. So I think today was a very, very enlightening day for you to understand what truly goes on. So we are being invited now for the passes. And before we go, we just want to say a minute of prayer and vibrations. So if you help us, so let's bathe our spirits in prayer. And we do ask you, God, that every single person who's here tonight, incarnate and discarnate, who are living this life in this world, and those who are entertaining life after life, that we are touched by your love.